Hello everyone, welcome to the presentation of Dichter-Gila, Localizing Schumann and Heine through Theatrical Storytelling. My name is Bernard Tan. I'm a senior lecturer at University Putra Malaysia, UPM, and I'm also glad to have Louis Ong from Music Makers from the industry in collaboration in this project. In this presentation, I'm going to go through 5 main sections of this project: the introduction, the research aims, the artistic concept, and the results and discussion, and also conclusion. First, introduction. As people who are practicing classical music, we can see that the challenges of Western classical music in its relevance in modern cultural landscapes is actually quite apparent. It is especially so for classical vocal works, where it uses text of Italian, German, and French, foreign languages. It actually resonates very clearly with what Balio mentioned in his article in 2025, that while classical music is for everyone, we cannot therefore deduce that everyone is for classical music, because there's a gap of understanding between classical music and also the current society. And therefore, we see that a lot of innovative performance practices, such as theatricalized recitals, cross-genre collaborations, narrative-driven reimagining of art songs, they all happen in performances, and this is also why we are doing this project as well for the Malaysian context. Now, this song cycle, Dichter-Liebe, is a song cycle written by Schumann and Heinrich Heine. Music by Schumann and the poems are by Heine. So 16 songs that are based on 16 poems. It's based on the classic themes of unrequited love. In its whole cycle, it has all these psychological complexity, musical richness, and highly charged emotional sentiments. So for our job, we are actually trying to adjust and adapt the work for the Malaysian audience, and we're going to call it Dichter-Gila, which is based on the title of the song cycle, Dichter-Liebe. This is in line with what Chuen mentioned in his article in 2024, that it is important to realize and define what stays in classical music and what can be adapted. And it is what we are trying to do in this project of Dichter-Gila. And we have 2 basic research questions. 1, how can theatrical storytelling of Dichter-Liebe in the context of Malaysia enhance audience engagement? 2, what performance strategies effectively communicate poetic meaning to local audiences? So this is our artistic concept, which is based on a practice-based methodology. It has 3 main parts of it: dramaturgical development, where we examine the narrative arc and we also create a storyline and script for this whole story. Number 2, musical analysis, where we analyze the characteristics of the music. We consider whether we need to add additional repertoires or additional music to this whole storytelling. Number 3, rehearsal explorations. Through rehearsals, we find performance strategies, decisions, and evolution through the practice. And this is really our iterative practice-based inquiry. This includes gestures, tone, pacing, staging, and also other aspects that we can find in rehearsals. To sum up the results and discussion, it is through the 3 sections of dramaturgical development, music analysis, and also rehearsal exploration. The first one, dramaturgical development, we reframe the protagonist in the context of Malaysia. So we reframe it as someone who has a bad experience in a loving relationship with the partner, and we are also trying to build a narrative arc around the story, from a very beautiful, loving, happy beginning till the very end where he is deciding to take his own life. So we adapt the dramatic functions based on the songs from the original Dichter-Gila into Dichter-Gila. So this is the table that we can show you. We tabulate it from number 1 to 16. We find the general poetic character, and also we adapt it into the dramatic function that we can use in developing a dramaturgical arc, or a narrative arc for this whole story. In the second section, music analysis, we look at musical sections, whether some songs actually work well together in a whole section, and we are trying to separate them by sections, because traditionally a song cycle is performed from the first song continuously until the last song. So we're trying to adapt it using different strategies. So we think of transitions between music and monologues, whether a monologue can work well transitioning into a piece, or we are also trying to see whether we can adapt additional music into this project. So additional music more than the 16 songs that are originally in that cycle. Number 3, through rehearsal explorations, we can experiment, and we can also practice, and also we can decide on what are the parts that can be improved, what are the parts that we can remove and we can retain. That includes presentation of the monologues, how it is spoken, what kind of pacing it is, transition between songs, whether the music actually starts during the monologue, or whether the music actually starts after the monologue. I'm going to show you a video in a sec as well. So this whole thing is an iterative practice-based inquiry that we are going through to find more data, and to find more ways of improving the delivery for audience engagement. So this video is an example of a moment where we try to experiment the transition between the monologue into the song, and whether the music should start while the monologue is still going on.
Bro, that like was everything. All of that started in May.
Maybe I'll start the music earlier.
Okay, can be tomorrow.
So I choose to start the music
Start reading from
in the middle of the monologue.
And then I went back home, posted something cringe on IG, a picture of the sky, with the caption, "It's May again." She liked the post. Bro, that like was everything. All of that started in May. Im wunderschönen Monat Mai, als alle Knospen sprangen.
I think that works.
Yeah, it's quite beautiful.
Yeah. So that transitions very nicely into the song, and we think that is actually a better way of presenting it. So it's just one of the moments that happens throughout the rehearsals. So in conclusion, this project is actually gap bridging. So it tries to bridge the gap by integrating spoken monologues, creative gestures, and also performative experimentation. It deepens our understanding of a particular work, in this case, Dichter-Gila, the song cycle, utilizing theatrical storytelling to deepen understanding, emotional resonance, and cultural relevance. For future application, we can also include that to non-programmatic music, so music that are not written with lyrics. Also, we can do that by fostering culturally relevant performance practices for accessibility in Malaysia and also beyond. So thank you for listening. This is the presentation of the project Dichter-Gila, localizing Schumann and Heine through theatrical storytelling.